All right, guys, we gotta talk. Um, the Ravens host Cincinnati tomorrow. They're going up against the Bengals at home. And one thing I gotta say about that game is the Ravens need to win that game. They need to beat Cincinnati. They've got a tough stretch coming up, and this is basically going to define what this season is going to be. Of course, we understand right now the AFC North is probably one of the worst divisions in the league right now. Cincinnati looks to be just fighting for the draft. You got Pittsburgh, whose situation keeps getting worse and worse by the day. They can't get any breaks. Then you got Cleveland, which is clearly the most talented team in this division, but they're so up and down and inconsistent that they're trying to figure out what to do. And then you have us, in which our defense is not great. It's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. It's not living up to the standards of a Ravens defense. It's not looked great. And then you have our offense that could be great at times, but can also go very flat in a very key moment. So no one in the division right now really looks impressive. And if you're talking about contending for a Super Bowl, none of these guys look like it. It really seems whoever wins the division will just be getting a ticket into the playoffs and be out in the first round. So if the Ravens if they want to be serious contenders, they got to win this game because I'm looking at the following stretch. You got next week, they're heading up to Seattle to face the Seahawks. That's a tough game. Then they get the bye week. Then they got the Patriots coming to Baltimore. That's also another tough game. Then you got Cincinnati to get out the way. That's another game they got to have. Then you got the Texans. They're going to Cincinnati for that. But then you got the Texans coming to Baltimore. And Deshaun Watson and the crew, they're looking good. We saw what they did to the Falcons. They could very well do that to our defense. Then you've got the Rams in L.A. And then the 49ers come here to Baltimore. Those are two NFC West teams. They are both impressive, and they both look like they can be they are contenders in the NFC. So you got two NFC West teams that are really looking impressive. And we just saw what the 49ers did to the Browns. They're not to be taken lightly. And then you get the Bills and the Jets where it starts cooling off, then the Browns and the Steelers. So you get 5 of your next 6 matches are all against contending teams. If the Ravens are serious about actually competing for a Super Bowl this season, it starts with this game. You cannot afford to lose games you are expected to win. You are the superior team. You've got to win it. Because looking from our falling stretch, we could very well be at like 6-6 by the time we get to week 14 to face off with the Bills. It's not good. And I understand this division, really, anyone who goes 9-7 in this division is probably going to win it. But if we're talking about contending, you're going up against the best. And in order to be the best, you've got to beat the best. And if the Ravens want to be that this season, they're going to have to beat these type of teams. So for me, we have our bye week after the Seahawks game. Baltimore needs to win this game, and they got to win it in Seattle. It starts with the Bengals game that they must have, and then they got to fight their way against Seattle. Because if you can go to the bye week at 5-2, then some of these matchups, you can afford some losses. And of course, you don't go into every game like, we're going to lose, they're better than us. You don't go into that. You continue fighting, and hopefully you can win that game. But I mean, the Patriots, the Rams, the 49ers, the Texans, those are tough games. Two of those those are tough games. They're nothing to slip. They are tough games to deal with. If the Ravens really are serious about being contenders and they really believe they can win the Super Bowl this year, despite what we think, despite what the fans think, despite what we're seeing from this team, if that unit, that locker room, that team believes they can make the Super Bowl, they're gonna have to beat these type of teams. And it's gonna start with not losing to teams you are superior to. You cannot lose to teams you are better than. You are better than the Cincinnati Bengals. But the Cincinnati Bengals tomorrow, they're going to give their best punch against Baltimore. And they play well against us every time. Historically, they've played well against the Ravens. They've had our number. If we are serious about being contenders, we've got to beat them handily tomorrow. Because you're going on the road next week to Seattle. And Russell Wilson is no joke. Russell Wilson's no joke. Deshaun Watson is no joke. Tom Brady's no joke. Jared Goff, despite what's happening, Jared Goff and that team is no joke. And the 49ers with Garoppolo, they are no joke. That defense in San Francisco, that defense is no joke. The Rams defense is no joke. Seattle's defense is really good. And the Patriots defense, good God. When New England comes to Baltimore, I think we're going to get blown out in that game. I'm honest. When we talk about that game, I have a few games I have us losing. When we get to New England, that's a straight up loss on my tally mark. Doesn't mean I'm not going to cheer for my team, but I don't see how we're beating that defense. So if Baltimore is serious about this, you have to win the games you were expected to win. You've got to beat teams you are better than. And it starts tomorrow. They're coming to your house. You have to beat Cincinnati. No excuses. No, at the end of the day, if they lose against Cincinnati, season's over in my opinion. Not saying that they, like, in terms of competing for a championship, it's over. Not saying they won't make the playoffs, not saying they can't win the division, but at this point, I'll look at this team like they're not a contending team. They could be a playoff team, but they will not be a contending team. Because contending teams don't lose the competition they are superior to. You win these type of games, and then when you go up against tougher competition, you fight with them, and you try to beat them. But a team like Cincinnati, that you're better than right now, if you can't beat them at home, then you really don't deserve to compete for a Super Bowl. Simple as that. Cincinnati's not going to sit back. They're not going to just lay over and die and just let you just roll over them in Baltimore. They're going to give you their best punch because they don't care about the fact that right now, they are 0-5. Look at the division right now. It's really up for grabs. They are 3 games behind first place because we're at 3-2. If they can get a win against Baltimore, if they can start collecting wins, they can get back in the division. Pittsburgh still got a chance to get back in the division. And if Cleveland gets it together, heck, they can run this division. So Baltimore, if you're serious about being a contender, you got to win. You got to win tomorrow. You got to go on the road to Seattle and win. And you got to rest your guys for the bye week and prepare for the toughest stretch of the season. Because 5 of your next 6 games are against contending teams, and you will need to win 3 of those games. You will need to win 4 of those games, honestly. 4 of them. The Cincinnati game, you got to win, obviously. But against the 5 contending teams, you got to find a way to beat 3 of those 5 contending teams. So, yeah. I didn't make a preview for this game this week because it's a team that you're just better than them. Obviously, historically, they always find a way to keep the game close and, in fact, beat us. They've had our number the last couple of years, but I still expect you guys to beat them. If you guys are serious about being contenders, you better win that game tomorrow. You better thoroughly handle the Cincinnati Bengals. If you can't do that, you shouldn't be called contenders because you're going to face much tougher competition in the coming weeks. That's all I got to say about that. Thanks for watching, and I'm out.